Okay, hey guys, Chris King here with another check-in with our staff, our amazing team, and staff counselor therapists. Number one, number one in our hearts, number one on her uniform is Rebecca Woodson from Siloam Springs, America. Hello, Rebecca Woodson.
Hello.
So, some people know this. You were the first person that took the dive and was willing to work with me and in our space. And we've gone through a lot together and different locations and different folks and different situations and stuff. And just really treasure my relationship with you. But I was hoping that you would be willing to share for our friends and families and clients out there, what's your deal? Like, how did you get to being a licensed therapist and working here? Like when was it that you thought that would be a good idea? What motivated you? Like what got you to this place? Care to share?
I can share, but it's kind of a bit of a long story, so I'll try to give the most abbreviated version.
This is the internet, man. We have all day.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have all day, but
Oh, okay. All right.
but, um, so I actually kind of fell into therapy. I feel like it wasn't something that I like necessarily set out for. And it just happened to be like a really good fit for me and for my personality, I think. But I would say when I discovered psychology when I was in undergrad at the University of Kansas, it would have been halfway through my junior year of college. And I was an exercise science major at the time, mainly because I was an athlete, and that's what like a lot of the athletes were majoring in. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But I was starting to get into all the like sciencey classes and realizing it was like boring to me.
Right.
But then I took psychology, I think first semester of my junior year, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I was so fascinated by it. And so I switched my major halfway through my junior year to psychology.
Oh,
Um, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with it, but I didn't really care because I felt like I had found my passion. And from that point forward, college was so interesting to me.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
graduated with my bachelor's degree in psychology, still not really knowing what to do because psychology doesn't necessarily set you up for a specific job in the workforce. And
Yeah. Yeah.
my professor, I think my senior year, that had done like a lecture on potential options for what you could do with psychology, like moving forward. And one of those was actually school psychology. So for whatever reason, that interested me. And so I applied to um, master's programs. You probably don't even know this about me. I actually got
Hey.
to the University of Denver, and which was where my dad was living at the time. And so when I graduated, I actually moved to Denver and I went to DU for 1.5 quarters and was in the school psychology program. But I quickly realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. Um, so I dropped out and moved to Arkansas because of a boy that I was dating at the time.
Hmm.
Started looking for jobs. Um, Found a job coaching the diving program at John Brown University and was kind of recruited to coach. And then that's kind of how I found the counseling program at JBU, because the head coach at the time of the swimming and diving program um, kind of talked me into taking a grad assistantship to coach the diving team and then go to school and get my master's in counseling. And she was also in the counseling program. She was in her first year, the year she hired me, and now she's my sister-in-law.
That's what I was gonna say. You're now
Yeah.
related.
Yeah, so we're now related. But she was kind of, I would say, the driving force that got me into the master's program to become a counselor. And I was pretty hesitant even to enter into the program because I had just dropped out of a master's program and I already had taken on some debt there and didn't know if that was a smart decision, but she's a pretty persuasive person and kind of talked me into it. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I fell into it. And then even after I got my master's degree, I didn't actually pursue licensure for like 6 years. I think
We have that in common.
yeah, my husband and I moved overseas for 4.5 years to South Korea. We taught English over there, which bought me some time to think about what I really wanted to do as far as a career. And I think it was a step that I needed to take just kind of as a late bloomer to like feel ready to actually be a counselor.
Mm.
And so yeah, I pursued licensure in I think 2012. So like 12 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And we became friends working on canopy tours too. And I had known your husband, Dusty, forever. And he worked at our camp. And then we became buddies working on the canopy tour. And then all of a sudden it like worked out for you were able to work for us over in Delaware County in Oklahoma. And that's there's just a lot to the story, a lot of the
Mhm.
things that contribute to our stories and to our lives and how we get to where we are. Super,
Yeah,
super interesting. Crazy.
it was orchestrated in a way that I did not plan, and it just
Mm.
kind of beautifully worked out in a way that I never could have anticipated, I feel like. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Well, you're great at what you do. And so let's talk a little bit about kind of your history of working in therapy, kind of like what's been your sweet spot in the past, what kind of stuff have you done, what kind of clients have you worked with, and now what are you doing? So like kind of like a little bit of professional history, if you don't mind, in the counseling area.
Yeah. So I first got licensed in Oklahoma as a licensed marriage and family therapist. And even that was a little bit by default. I had originally anticipated I would get licensed in Arkansas because that was what the graduate program was geared towards. But when my husband and I moved back home from overseas, we were living in Oklahoma at the time, so that my husband could go to school. And we didn't necessarily know where we were going to end up more permanently. So it just kind of made sense to get my license in Oklahoma. And the LMFT license was the one that I had all of the coursework for. Um, if I wanted to pursue the LPC track or like the licensed professional counselor, I was going to have to take another assessment course. So I got my license as an LMFT in Oklahoma, and I started working for an agency in kind of rural Delaware County, and that was the area that I served because we were living there at the time. And what that meant was that I saw Medicaid clients. I worked with Sooner Care, billing Sooner Care for the first, well, like really 6 or 7 years of my practice. And it's definitely, it was serving a population that was really foreign to me, because I actually grew up in the Seattle metro area. So like rural Oklahoma,
Rural Oklahoma, not your
definitely
stick.
not what I was, um not home for me. And so
Right.
it was just this, I feel like my eyes were opened to a way of life that I had maybe heard about but had never actually like seen and experienced with my own two eyes. And so, serving the Medicaid population, so ages 18 and under, and families, it just prepared me, I think, really well as a therapist because I saw so much and heard so many stories of like, um, multi-generational poverty and addiction and, um, lack of service opportunities, lack of education. I just feel like I saw a lot of just really hard situations and circumstances that I just don't think that I would have understood in the same way had it not been like my firsthand experience, like witnessing some of these things and working with
Yeah.
a lot of the kids that I worked with. So it was really something that I loved, but it was also hard. And I knew that it was probably not what I wanted to do long term. Um, so eventually, um, I got licensed in Arkansas, and we ended up relocating to Siloam Springs. So living kind of right on the border, um, I've had the ability to just maintain licensure in both Arkansas and Oklahoma. And so you opened up your first Arkansas space business in, I
Yeah.
think, 2020. Like it was when the pandemic hit, I think.
Yeah. We we
Yeah.
we found a really fertile time in American history to try to start something new.
It was a little rough, but I feel like it was actually for me a good time to make the transition because I knew that transition would probably always be a little bit bumpy, and it was already bumpy anyway. Like most of us therapists were doing teletherapy, and that's kind of all we were doing for like
Yeah.
months. So it kind of allowed me to move into more of like the private insurance and cash pay clientele population in such a way that I was able to sort of baby step in. And I remember it being a little bit overwhelming at first just because it was new.
Yeah.
But now I guess it's been about 4 years of, primarily working with cash pay clients and or people who have private insurance. So it just brings a different population and new challenges, and I've really enjoyed it. And I would say I don't know if I have like a specific prime client.
Right.
Necessarily. I like the variety of working with people of all ages and all sorts of like circumstances and situations. Um, I don't really work with kids a lot anymore under the age of like 12. I feel like middle school and up is kind of my wheelhouse, but um I would say I work with a lot more women than men. But
Yeah.
that's something that I've sought out. It's not necessarily been like my choice. I really enjoy working with men too. But yeah, I that's kind of
So in some ways, you've kind of been what a lot of us do, which is kind of like, hey, there's a problem. I'm trauma informed, and I have broad training, and I'm learning through experience, and as a member of a team, you get to at some level it is limited because you're in Arkansas, and our biggest part of our team is in Tulsa. But you
Mhm.
you know that you get the opportunity for support and feedback, et cetera, and we kind of grow and develop. But this year, you made a big step to be an EMDR therapist, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what that's been like for you, and what doors it's opening in your, I guess, in your ability to help. Right?
Yeah. So I think that I was feeling like I was becoming a little bit stagnant in my position, and just noticing that I could help clients to learn and grow and make some progress and headway. But I think I just felt like my toolbox was very limited in
Mhm.
what, theories and techniques I'd been taught. And I was using everything. And I feel like I was as effective as I could be. But I just felt like there was something missing. And I feel like because I've worked with so many people that have just been impacted by trauma, I felt like I was already fairly trauma informed. And I'd also taken a lot of kind of continuing education courses um, geared towards being trauma informed. And also, just so much of the research, I would say, probably in the last 10 years, has been very much geared towards um, somatic therapies and like
Yeah.
incorporating a more integrated, holistic, somatic way of helping clients to heal from trauma. So I had like kind of toyed with a lot of ideas of things I might pursue. But EMDR was the thing that was the most readily available with the shortest amount of training involved and would allow me to be able to start using it right away. And so I just kind of slowly saved up the money to be able to pay for a course. And so I've taken the course and completed it. I did that over the summer. And so I'm now halfway through my consultation hours, which basically means I'm under supervision again.
Right.
But yeah, it's been just a really powerful experience. And I feel like I'm much more equipped now to be able to basically take almost any client and help them to grow and heal in a way that I just didn't have the tools and resources before this. And so I think it's also kind of helped me to feel refreshed as a clinician. And I also think that this way of helping people is a much more sustainable way as a clinician to provide services without constantly having to fight the burnout that comes from hearing people's trauma over and over again. Because one thing about EMDR is that your clients don't have to go into so much detail about things that they've experienced, and it doesn't have to make sense to me. I don't have to hear the whole story for their brain
Yeah.
to be able to do the work of healing.
Yeah.
So I'm more of a facilitator in their process of healing rather than being the one kind of in some ways responsible for figuring out how to help them heal. So yeah, it's just a very different way of thinking about how you're supporting the brain and the body to do its own healing work.
It
That
feels more consistent with like the philosophy of being a collaborator with your
yeah,
client. You're not a
it,
fixer, you're a collaborator.
it gives your client a lot more agency over the process. It gives them a lot more power over their healing. And I think it leaves them feeling a lot more empowered and hopefully a lot less dependent on you as the therapist over the course of time. Like the goal is for clients to get to where like they don't need to come to therapy any longer. And um yeah, I feel like EMDR is just a really effective tool to help people get to a place where they feel confident in themselves and empowered to be able to go then like do life on their own and not continue to get re-triggered by their past experiences as much. Um, so
You had a metaphor when you were telling me about it the other day. I don't know if you can remember it. If you can't remember it, then this part of our interview is not super exciting.
metaphor.
Yeah, you're like, I feel like it's like I've been blind and now I can see, or something like that. Like you're just talking about kind of your world opening up because of this new challenge. Anyway,
Well,
that
I
was
use
what I,
metaphors all the time in therapy, so I don't remember exactly what the
sure.
metaphor was, but yeah, I mean, I feel like yeah, learning this form of therapy, like I mean, you're still going to be I'm still using all the same tools and resources that I used before, and this is just an additional one. But now that I have it and know it, and as I become more skilled in using it, I can't imagine not having it. Like I'm not going to not use it now that I have it and I see how powerful it is. And yeah, I mean, my eyes have been opened up to a whole new way of and it's really it's just exciting.
That's awesome, dude.
I'm like so
Awesome.
excited to come to work, and I can also see that my clients, as I educate them and explain kind of what it is, so many of them are like bought into it and are like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I'm still early on in my experience with it, but I am really excited about continuing to learn how to use it.
Well, I'm really proud of you and your development and where you're going in your life, and just super happy to be your friend and coworker. But like that's what I'm after in our group. Like I want to be surrounded by people that are that want to move forward and grow and are getting energized by new ways to help. I mean, like this is awesome. It's really, really good. And you're benefiting, and ultimately your clients and their families are benefiting.
Hmm.
So I think it's what we want to be about. You used healing and growth in your like in your statement. I mean, like that's what we're here for. That's
Hmm.
what we do. So,
Yeah.
is there anything that you uh well here okay, what's some stuff you do for fun? Like
Fun.
let's shift gears. Like what do you do for fun? Like what's your thing or things?
Mm, I'm pretty introverted, so I really enjoy reading and gardening. Kind of a
Huh.
lot of like
Hmm. Come on.
grandmotherly hobbies and interests. But
Hmm.
I'm married to a pretty extreme extrovert, and my child is also very much out there. So it's hard for me to find time to do those things without other people wanting to do me to do other things with them. So like this weekend, we're going camping and probably rock climbing because that's something that my husband and I have enjoyed together for years. And we're slowly teaching my 7-year-old daughter how to climb and not have panic attacks when she gets to the top of the route. Um, so hopefully that'll be successful. But yeah, I would say anything in the outdoors. Um, and I just like being really physically active too.
That's incredible. I do want to say to anyone that watches this, we had a newsletter article that said stuff I'm reading. And I ask everyone on the team to like stuff you're reading.
Uh-huh.
And I put on the one book that I read a little bit of that my wife criticizes me because she's like, you can't even read 10 pages without going outside cutting wood or something. I'm like, yeah, but I'm reading. And then you had on your list, you had like 8 books. I don't know. It's like half a page. Like
I
you're like a
like to read a lot of things all at once because it depends on what my mood is, like I can't read nonfiction at night, but I can't just read fiction because I get kind of bored with that sometimes. So, and I'm always listening to something. I'm in a reading club with a group of friends, which is really fun. We don't read one book and then gather and talk about it. We just read whatever we want to, and every month we get together and we talk about what we read, and it's so fun and fascinating, and I laugh a ton. And so I feel like that's gotten me more invested into reading, and I feel like everyone should be a reader, um, because it's such a healthy hobby, and I learn a lot and I grow a lot from it. And I think it's also why I love being a therapist, because I just love hearing about people's experiences and stories.
come on.
So when you're reading, you're always kind of putting yourself in the experience of someone else. And I just feel like you always learn so much from doing that. So I do that as much as I can in my life, whether it's with
Shows.
friends or in a book.
It shows. Um, I is there anything you want people to know about you? Like they gotta know?
I mean, I'm just like pretty much this is who I am. Like I'm pretty down to earth. I just
It's my
enjoy
deal.
being a therapist and helping people to grow and heal. And I'm, I don't know, just pretty
I,
standard
you're
person.
awesome. You're great. I'm so happy that you're with us, and I feel just 100% confident every time folks work with you.
Mm.
So we're going to put this out there, and if there's, if we need to edit it or whatever, we will do that. But I just really appreciate of your time. Thanks for taking the time today.
No problem.
Cool, cool. Okay, uh, we'll talk to you soon, and guys, thanks for being a part of what we do. We're out. See ya. Bye. Okay, and then she'll cut it up.
Wait, do I leave? What do I do
I
now?
don't know. You can make you we'll keep this part in because I always think that's funny as hell. Um